Started. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the October 19th, 2015 meeting of the Merrimack Conservation Commission. You have to excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold, so if you can't hear me or I can't hear you, I'll let you know. It is now 6:32 p.m. All right. Just to let folks know, Christy Bradshaw resigned. Her position as an alternate member, meaning that we now have 3 alternate positions and 1 full-time position open. If anyone is here in the public or watching this on the replay is interested in joining the Merrimack Conservation Commission, we have a number of openings, and we would be happy to bring you on slowly and train you, and all we desire is someone with a strong interest to participate. So, also, I'd like to remind folks that it is now hunting season. And it has been going on for a little while now, so if you're out in the woods on our properties and you're a hunter, please check our website for where hunting is allowed and where it's not, because it's not allowed on all properties, and some of that is by deed or other mandates. But if you are out, please wear your hunter orange. Just to give everyone an idea, it is archery season for deer at this point, and firearm season will be starting later, actually pretty shortly. So. Turkey season is going on as well. Actually, turkey ended, but moose permit started this weekend. Youth deer hunting weekend is next weekend, and then muzzle loaders start October 31st. So just be aware. And regular firearm season for deer is November 11th through December the 6th. So just to keep people apprised of what's going on. So far, we've all been able to work together well in the woods, hunters and non-hunters alike, so let's keep that going. All right, so next on our agenda, if anyone else, does anyone else have any other announcements or anything they'd like to make? Okay. All right, so this is now time for public comment, if the public wishes to comment. If you're here for the public hearing, we'll be having that comment period shortly. All right, so seeing none, then I'll move on to appointments in our public hearing. This is going to take a few moments, but what we meant to do is go through the steps anyways, because it's important for folks who are watching in the background. So did that turn on? Did anyone hear noise?
No.
There it goes. Yeah. Yep. Yep. We may end up having to move that chair though. Yeah. If folks want to see, feel free to rearrange your chairs. Yeah, you're right. So we've got that for a screen, but I don't have a... Let's try this. I know it took us a few seconds last time to get in sync. All right, should be switching over. Excellent. All right, so let's... Yeah.
Indian legend,
yeah. All right. Let's see if we can get bring it up. There we go. Good deal. All right, so this public hearing area is all about a land purchase that the Conservation Commission wishes to make. In essence, we're trying to purchase 4 parcels, and we've already have a signed purchase and sales agreement for them. The intent of this public hearing is to hear from the public if they have any concerns about this. So let's go through some of the legal stuff. So the Conservation Commission operates under RSA 36-A. And as such, we have the power to purchase land in the name of the town, but it's subject to the approval of the local governing body. So on Thursday evening this week, we are on the agenda for the town council meeting, assuming that at the end of this public hearing we decide to move forward, to have them seek their approval for this land purchase as well. And the rest of the legalese is there. In order to purchase land per RSA 36A:5, we need to hold the public hearing, which is what we're doing now. It was noticed, it was in the newspapers, and it was noticed properly for 10 days. The 2 RSAs are noted in there. The second one, RSA 675:7, speaks to how you notice a public hearing, in case you want to look it up. So this was the public hearing notice that was put in the paper. Essentially, we're looking to purchase 4 parcels known as Tax Map 5A3, 5A65, 5A65-1, and 5B1. All right, so like I said, those are the 4 parcels. 3 of them are owned by the Conservancy Foundation Incorporated. 1 parcel is owned by Second Generation LLC and members of the Nash Family and Trust. We thought in the beginning that all 4 parcels were owned by the Conservancy, but a title search revealed that there was some issues with the title, and that wasn't quite true. So details of our sale. It's approximately 140 acres altogether for $431,600. We're going to utilize our conservation fund, what we affectionately call number fund 53. It actually has a much longer number, but 53 is how it starts. So the intent is to cover recording fees, attorney fees, purchase price, and any related costs. Stipulation in the purchase and sales is that we must purchase all 4 parcels or none. Okay, they're sold as is for conservation purposes only, which are included in their current deeds anyway, so there is no change in the deed structure in that way. The sale is contingent upon public hearing and approval of the council, this being the public hearing, and I will open it to the public shortly. So, and you can see the purchase and sales agreement, which was part of the agenda backup, for more details. Do you folks want to go over in any of the details? It's a rather long purchase and sales agreement. Do you have any questions?
Historically, we've tried to add into the deed that we're going to put this into conservation land in perpetuity.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've not seen the actual deeds now for these properties, but are they worded as such that that's something we're going to continue to do?
Correct. So the wording that's in them is actually repeated here in the purchase and sales agreement, and I can highlight that for you. But it's section 3 of the purchase and sales under deed. It says, use of this land shall be forever restricted for conservation purposes only. So all the deeds do stipulate conservation purposes in them, the current deeds. So this is going to just continue that.
So it was one of the things we used to write in perpetuity into the deed.
Yeah,
Is that
so right now, the language that we've agreed to for the deeds is here in the purchase and sales.
okay?
I did speak to our attorney, Carrie, and asked Carrie if we could expand upon this wording and include some of the other wording that we've done in the others. She was taking that up. Mike was on the call with me. She was going to take that up with their attorney, Mr. Morgan, and see what their thought was. But when you look at the number of people that are involved in the sale, and you've all seen the sign-off sheet between the trusts and everything else.
A lot.
The comment was if there was any objections to that extra wording that we normally put in our deeds, that we would just back off and stay with what we agreed to in the purchase and sales, and then we have the opportunity to adjust the deeds later if we want to, or put an easement over the top of them, or anything else that we'd like to do.
Right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't need a purchase and sales transaction to adjust the deed once you
Correct.
own the parcel.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So we can worry about that later.
Yeah, so that's the way we left it, that if it became a sticking point, that we would just back off and say, no, we'll stay with the way things are. Okay. So basically what I wanted to do was to repeat the same language that we've had on a number of the other Greater Woods parcels when we purchased them. So, which gets into, you can do forestry on them,
Right.
but you can't build buildings on them and all that stuff, so. All right, so any other comments or questions about the purchase and sales? So basically the Conservancy properties had nice clean titles. Parcel 5A65-1 had a discrepancy when Mr. Nash wanted to transfer his half ownership. It was half owned by Mr. Nash and the other half by Mr. Tamposi. When he wanted to move his over to Second Generation LLC, which is a LLC that's formed by not his sons and daughters, but from with their children. So all these names that you see in here are all related to Mr. Nash. When he wanted to transfer it over, it turns out that the deed work that did the transfer didn't properly describe the property, and therefore it wasn't a proper deed transaction. So that was not noticed before Mr. Nash passed last year, and it was not corrected. So in working with the current Nash family, his wife and the trust and heirs and all that, and Second Generation LLC, all the members that were involved in there, we decided that it was best between the attorneys, and Mike and I continued and concurred that it was best that we get all the potential parties who have any claim to this one parcel to sign off on the purchase and sales and on the deed, that they relinquish any claim to these properties and that it's truly our property. So that the deed that will result out of that will be a quit claim deed, not a warranty deed, because in order to straighten out the deed, we'd have to go back and have to do and have to go back to probate court and fix things in probate because of Mr. Nash has already passed and things weren't done cleanly. So that would take time and money. And since all the members wanted all 4 parcels to go at the same time, we believe that, and the town's attorney is comfortable, and Carrie didn't do it on her own. She consulted with the other members of the firm, including Matt and other folks, to say that this was the best that we could hope to do at this point. So, and felt confident that we'd be all set. If we ever should decide to sell this one parcel, we may have to go through and try to figure out a way to make it cleaner if someone needed a warranty deed, not a quit claim deed, in order to take ownership of the parcel. But since we have no intentions of selling this parcel once we own it, we didn't think that was an issue. So that's where we are. That's how we got to where we are, and that's why we have such a long list of folks that are signing off on it, because Mr. Nash's wife is signing off both as a trustee of his trust as well as an heir to his estate, stating that she will claim no more claim to this parcel. So all right. I did fix the typo on the bottom bullet on the presentation you see on the screen, but it's not noted in the parcel. I had misspelled the Nash Trust, so that's now fixed. So moving on to give everyone some clarity as to where the parcel is. This screen doesn't help very well because I had different shades of green here, but basically the current Greater Woods parcels are all these parcels. A number of these parcels in here, as well as the easement land around here, which is for the middle school. If you all remember, when Old Blood and the Chestnut Hill development goes in, they're going to give us an easement that kind of spans where my mouse is going right now. So that'll become part of the town, so that will grow Greater Woods this way. Also, that same easement will yield about another 80 acres this way, right in through here. Actually goes around that wetland and goes in here. So that most of this 80 acres in here will become part of the Commission's Greater Woods. The 4 parcels involved here is this green parcel here, this green parcel here, and then there's actually 2 of them right here. It's kind of hard to see on the screen. Looks better on my computer. So 65 and 65-1 are these 2 here. They're both approximately 14 acres of land. So essentially, Greater Woods is going to expand to include all these parcels, a good portion here, a piece here. This should be color green, but I just didn't get to it. And we'll basically leave, it'll be a donut shape, in other words. Mr. Vaughn should be aware of how close this is to his parcel, which we'll talk about at our next agenda item. I have I don't have you re-subdivided your lot here, so I don't have the new line here correct, but same. Yeah. 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 Right. Yeah. So, All right, so that's reference, so it's this parcel, this parcel, this parcel, and this parcel. Okay, it'll add about 140 acres to the 490 acres that we have here. And then Amherst, through the Amherst Land Trust in the town of Amherst, they have another nearly 1,000 acres here as well, which will give us a large green space. So, also what you don't see here is, I believe, this one little parcel here, no, it's this one here, is also owned by the town. So essentially we could have, this is very steep sloped, but you could essentially have an access point into our Greater Woods from Wilson Hill Road at some point in the future when we get around to working on things. So that'll give us access here. It'll give us access from the middle school. We now have access up in here. So we'll have access from 3 different directions, as well as South Greater Road, which traverses this property line. South Greater Road is all of this right through here. Okay? So that's the 4 parcels. Any questions? All right. So why is this important? Basically, it expands Greater Woods, which is a critical conservation focus area, as was defined in 2010 by our Biodiversity Conservation Plan that was prepared for the town and the commission. Also, the town master plan updated 2013 listed this as a significant parcel of land and for acquisition and conservation. Also, it's kind of hard to see here, but the parcels we're talking about are right in this pink area here. This pink area, this is a map from the Fish and Game. It's an area that's ranked the highest ranked habitat by Fish and Game. There's a number of factors that go into that. It has to do with habitats, animals, water, and things like that. And this fits in firmly and strongly as to land that we should be conserving. So, all right, so I believe I'm down to the last slide. So in closing, the Commission believes that this is an appropriate use of the funds that we were graciously given to manage and use for conservation within Merrimack. We believe that it fits the spirit of the RSA 36-A. And any questions here within the Commission? Yep.
Thanks, Tim. Kudos again. I think this is a fantastic acquisition, years in the making. But talk about transparency and talk about funds. So because that's might seem like an awful lot of money, which it is to some people.
Yep.
So could you just explain what how much we have in that fund? And
Sure.
And I know we've got a certain. They changed the land use change for how much money, because the Conservation Commission used to get 50% of the land use change tax, but now they've capped the amount of money. So if you could just go over that information for anybody who might be interested.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So our Fund 53 has approximately $1.2 million, maybe probably a little bit more than that in it right now. And this purchase is $431,000, so that'll bring that fund down to the $700,000 to $800,000 range. Right now, the way the town has structured things, any land that comes out of current use, there is a fee that's required to be paid by the developer when you do that. At this point, there was a change made in 2008 and 2009 by the town council, so that 50% of those land use change dollars or tax that's required goes to the town's budget, the general fund, and 50% goes to the Conservation Commission, only if the Fund 53 that we have is below $1 million. So 50% of the money can go in up until we reach $1 million. After that, 100% of the money goes to the town's general budget. So to give you an idea, when that was done in 2007 and 8, that was made effective. Since that point, Paul ran some numbers in fiscal year 8-9, 124,000 was eligible for a 50-50 split. In 2009 and 10, because of the mall, $1 million, $1,034,600 was eligible for the 50-50 split. Then in 2010 and 11, we basically went over the $1 million threshold. There was $117,000 in land use change dollars. So part of it went into our fund, but most of it went into the general fund. And since 2011, all the monies have gone to the general fund. So in 11 and 12, that's 165,000. In 12, 13, that was 71,000. In 13, 14, that was 117,000. And in the last fiscal year, 14, 15, that was almost $31,000. So right now, that would mean that any monies that go in once this purchase is complete, any monies that would be land use change monies, 50% would go to the commission till we got all the way back to $1 million. So, yep. So there is a memo here that I've had actually for a little while, and I apologize I haven't forwarded, but I can show you all the other eligible land use changed dollar properties are. They've all been mapped out, so the town is well aware of them. So, and I'll have forward that to all of you. I suspect this will be a point of discussion with the town council as well. So,
Thanks. I just want people to be aware of where the money comes from and how it's used.
absolutely, it's the people's money. So, okay. Any other questions or comments from the commission? As you know, we've all been working on this. I mean, this goes back probably 10, 11 years from the first time we've tried this. So I think this is, hit number 4 or 5 that we tried, and we finally got something to stick on the wall, thanks to Mike over here. So he found the right person at the right time. So with that, what I'd like to do then is to open up the public hearing at 6:52 p.m. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to address the commission on this purchase? All right, so then, since there's no one coming to speak, I will then close the public hearing also at 6:52 p.m. All right, so what I'd like to do next then is to have a motion in public for the commission to purchase the property from the fund for the $431,600 plus fees.
I'll make the motion.
All right. So you move to purchase the 4
Move to
parcels?
purchase the 4 parcels, yes, as stipulated in your presentation.
Okay. Seconded by Gage. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? That passes 6-0-0. All right. So the next step is the town council on Thursday. Please come by, attend, cheer us on. All right. And then hopefully by November the 10th, we will have 140 more acres for the town. So, all right. Anything else on this agenda item? Okay. Well, then we'll move on to statutory advisory business with Fieldstone Land Consultants and Brett Vaughn for a proposed cluster subdivision. I will ask you to sign in. Yep, have a seat there. I can make this screen go away so it's not going in the background. Now I can try to make it go away.
Are we done with it?
Yeah, probably. I have some pictures of the kiosk we can share later. I think we might need batteries in this, or a... Yeah. So we have the full color sheets here if anyone would like to see them as opposed to the black and white that we've all got. Okay. It didn't agree with you. I don't know if you want to go around from the front and see if that'll work, but you probably don't want to touch that now, right? It's just, yeah. All right. That'll probably take a moment to cool off before it shuts down completely. So for the record, please sign in and then give us your name or your name of your firm before you get started, because we do get minutes from the video. So.
Very good.
Okay. Bright green.
There we go. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Chad Brandon. I'm a civil engineer with Fieldstone Land Consultants. Our office is located at 206 Elm Street in Milford. And with me tonight is Brett Vaughn, who is the owner of tax map parcel 4A-23. We are before you this evening to review a proposal to subdivide and develop tax map parcels 4A-23 and 5A-1. Parcel 4A-23 is situated on the north side of Wilson Hill Road, has a physical address of 123 Wilson Hill Road, and consists of approximately 59.1 acres of land. Parcel 5A-1 is situated off of South Greater Road and has an area of approximately 15.4 acres of land, as depicted on the map that we submitted, and also on this map. You'll see this is parcel 4A-23 here. Mr. Vaughn's house and existing driveway comes from Wilson Hill Road up here, and this is where his house and garage is. And then parcel 5A-1 is over here, and again, that's 15.4 acres. Together, the parcels total approximately 74.5 acres of land. Zoning for the property is Residence 1, which has a requirement of 250 feet of frontage, 300-foot lot depths, and contiguous upland area of 100,000 square feet, or 2.3 acres of land. The topography for the property is generally mild, with some steeper slopes mixed throughout, and the site generally slopes from north to South Greater Road, to Wilson Hill Road. So basically, this entire area here comes down to Wilson Hill Road, and then this eastern section of the site over here grades towards South Greater Road. The property does have some jurisdictional wetlands within the boundaries, which are depicted on the plan right here. And then there's an area right here. This is kind of a saddle in here, or a high spot, so that's where the site breaks in both directions. Currently, the property is serviced by overhead electric, telephone, and cable, as well as on-site septic and well. And that's primarily for Mr. Vaughn's residence. Over the last year, we have been working with Mr. Vaughn on development options for the subject parcels. When we initially started evaluating the property, we were contemplating a single roadway off of Wilson Hill Road that would service 13 lots. This development option consisted of 12 new lots and a remainder lot which encompassed the existing house. So it's essentially had a very similar alignment here, had 12 new lots around that road alignment, and then this house stood on its own on a much larger piece of property. We also evaluated development options off of South Greater Road, especially when Mr. Vaughn went under contract with parcel 5A-1, and we found through some preliminary sketches that development could yield somewhere in the magnitude of 9 lots. This board may be familiar with a development that was proposed back in 2006, I believe, where there was going to be improvements to South Greater Road, and then a development option coming from that direction as well. These options would have consisted of another road, so there would essentially been 2 cul-de-sac roads, one coming from Wilson Hill and then the other coming from South Greater Roads. And after evaluating these plans, we decided to take a look at the bigger picture and realized that this area of town would be better served, at least in our opinion, by an open space or a cluster subdivision. And I think this kind of piggybacks the discussion that you guys just had quite well, in that this is very similar to the plan that you had up on the board, Mr. Chairman. When we started evaluating the cluster option, one of the things that we did is, start looking at the surrounding areas and see if it made sense. Are we contiguous with other conservation areas? Is it going to benefit the public? Is there going to be a public element that would be beneficial? And what we found is we felt that a subdivision that's accessed off of Wilson Hill Road and he eliminates the improvements off of South Greater Road, would allow some kind of continuity and connectivity to this larger open space area. And what, which was really confirmed when we started looking at this plan. In the parcels in orange are the parcels that the commission just agreed to purchase, I believe, which is great. And these kind of this reddish hue areas, the parcels that consist of this project. So what we would be looking to do is a cluster subdivision that would follow and be built around an alignment here, and then place a large portion of the land into a conservation easement. All of 5A1 would be in conservation, as well as a significant portion of 4A23. So I'm just going to flip back just because it.
Yeah.
When we started evaluating the cluster subdivision, my client wanted to keep the lot sizes for the development around 2 acres of land. And basically that yielded a subdivision density of about 17 lots, 16 new lots, and then 1 lot where the house would exist. The development would require a 1,550 linear foot roadway to be constructed, which is shown on the plan that we have before you and have submitted with the application. And it is our opinion that a cluster subdivision would be mutually beneficial for this property due to a number of factors. The cluster subdivision would result in less land alteration, would allow the subdivision to be accessed from Wilson Hill Road, which would eliminate the need to upgrade South Greater Road, would reduce the infrastructure required for the development, and most importantly, would provide a large conservation area and really expand upon, which is obvious after seeing the first presentation, a goal to continue to preserve this area of Merrimack. As the commission may know, conservation subdivisions are not allowed in this area of town, and therefore this proposal would require a variance from the ZBA.
You meant cluster subdivision?
Yeah, I'm sorry, cluster. Sorry, I get the terms mixed up. I apologize. The requirements for cluster subdivisions also include municipal sewer and water, as well as a 15-acre minimum tract area. We obviously satisfy the tract area requirement since this property totals 74.5 acres approximately. But the municipal sewer and water element is what we would be seeking a variance for. Since the proposed cluster subdivision lots are large in size and exceed state standards for conventional subdivisions, we do not see any problems with this proposal. You would end out with a very conservative density, really, when you start looking at and comparing other cluster style subdivisions. We have performed test pits on each of the proposed lots and have found the soils to be very suitable for on-site septic systems. And so we think a key factor to this evaluation is that we are proposing a very reasonable density for the project. 17 lots over 74.5 acres yields a 4.4 acre per lot density. And when you compare that to the cluster subdivision regulations in town, if you meet all the requirements, the density is 40,000 square feet per unit. So although we can understand with that density why the town would be looking for projects to be serviced by municipal sewer and water, we think in this area of town with the density that we're proposing and the acreage that is accompanying each lot, we believe that this would be a reasonable proposal. Since the project will require zoning relief and has a very large conservation element, we felt that the first step in the process, the best step, would be to come before the commission, see if we could gain your support before we make formal submissions to the zoning board and the planning board. We have actually met with town staff quite a few months ago to review this as an option. They thought that it did make sense due to the location and probably because they were more aware of what some background conversations may have been going on pertaining to purchasing properties in this area as well. So obviously, it's our hope that, we can have a productive dialogue this evening with the commission and that you may choose to support the project. So with that, I'd be happy to try to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
So just to be clear of your intent right now, you're looking for us to provide a recommendation to the ZBA and the planning board on the concept, or you're looking?
Yeah, we basically on the concept, yes, exactly. So it would be a function of the density that we're proposing, the relationship as, where we are, the amount of open space that we're contemplating with this project. I think in general, what we'd be looking for is a recommendation from the commission or a letter of support that would indicate that a conservation subdivision does make sense as long as all the other elements are designed accordingly. I mean, obviously, we have not gone through the finite details of every element. We certainly believe we've done enough work at this stage to verify that the site can support septic, that we have all of the lot sizing and soils accounted for. But there are other elements along the way that we'll have to design for, drainage and infrastructure and so on. So,
Yeah. Well, when it comes to the subdivision, you'll end up having to come back here anyways,
right.
assuming you get to that point, so.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Questions?
I do. This map doesn't contain, but I've seen a few maps of the area denoting several wetlands. Did you have anything further? I don't know if you have more sheets that depict the wetlands in the area.
Well, we took the in the area or on the lot?
On this lot.
On the lot.
If you don't, that's fine.
I don't have
okay.
anything. I mean, I know we've done, test pits and everything in this area here. I'm not aware of any other wetlands, honestly. There was a recent subdivision that subdivided this parcel off, and a lot of the material that, was utilized for that subdivision we are depicting on this conceptual plan.
There's definitely, this kind of here expands to, this wet expands
Right.
and crosses the road right there.
Certainly off-site, but that's, again, another element that we would obviously have to complete is a detailed, soil mapping of the property, which would consist of, delineating any wetlands that maybe are not, shown on this plan.
Okay.
But we are depicting everything I believe that we've found on, in reference material. Is there a particular subdivision or a plan that you're aware of that may be depicted more?
No, just the NRPC map of that parcel,
Okay.
and depicts several wetlands. So
Yeah, the areas you have designated on there are shown as standing water. Are they standing water? They, maybe not
Well,
this
I
year,
don't-
because it's a
I
little
don't see
dry,
that.
but, yeah.
It's kind of down the hill there. I don't
Yeah.
go over there much, but I think, it's wet all year, I think. I believe it's wet
Yeah, okay.
all year.
And that even shows up on the town's GIS system as well as standing water and the stream system that brings it towards Wilson Hill Road.
Right.
Yes.
Do we have, Eddie, you may know this, I don't. Do we have any other cluster developments in town that aren't on public sewer and water?
We have one that was approved recently. That's the one off of Tomasian Drive.
Okay,
That has town water, but not town sewer. That's using septic systems.
okay.
Because they did a...
How much, do you remember
there's-
roughly how many lots that was?
It's about the same size.
16.
I think it's about
Okay.
16, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That was 19 lots.
19, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a few along, so
So
Yeah.
they had public water,
public water.
but
They have soils that allow for septic systems.
they were going to be doing septic?
Yeah,
Okay.
and they did test pits as well and had to show that to the planning board.
Okay.
So,
So what do we know about this particular parcel when it comes to water?
Well, we we know that my client's house, which is up here on the hill, he has I think a yield of, 5 gallons a minute in his well. We also know that the gentleman that just built on this property and drilled a well, I think has roughly the same
It's
yield.
a little over that, but
Yeah, roughly the same yield. We also have done we have hired a hydrogeologist to do an analysis for the property to determine that there would be adequate water for the house sites that we're proposing. That report came back favorable, and that's obviously something that we would be sharing with the planning board with any future submission
that's
for.
actually something, the planning board, that was a discussion that came up in the planning board. Yes, that discussion came up in the planning board because one of the butters at the bottom of the hill has very little water.
Yeah, this gentleman here has
Right next to it.
this one here.
Yeah, he's got like 3/4 of a gallon,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So his concern was that putting more wells in could make his worse.
Yeah.
So we've hired.
Do you have a
the
formal
professional-
written report that studied every single parcel that you're proposing?
What they do, and I'm not a hydrogeologist,
No,
so
neither
don't,
am I,
I don't
so-
want to, sit before you and pretend that I am. But essentially, what they do is, I think they evaluate the surrounding areas, all the well yields. They take a look at the maps that indicate, I believe, types of rocks, geological data, and then ultimately put together, the study that was requested by the planning board. We did go to the planning board for discussion on this project, which consisted of, at the time, it was the 12 lots that we were proposing for the conventional development just off of Wilson Hill Road. Since that time, my client has gone under agreement with the other parcel, 5A1, so there was, kind of everything was re-looked at from a standpoint of a master plan for the property.
Thank you.
Do we have sewer and water down Wilson
No.
Hill now?
No.
No, there's nothing down that whole
No.
area. It's all.
I think there's water, but it's like a mile away or more, right?
Yeah, the water.
I think it's further than that.
It's probably a couple of miles away, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
It's not.
if you look for fire hydrants, they don't go that far.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
anyone else?
Well, there's two lots that the frontage is the frontage on the road, right? And you have two lots that your home lot, but also lot 3. It doesn't have. Where's the frontage considered on that lot? Is that
There is frontage here for that lot, and if you look at it meets the requirements under the cluster ordinance for access and so on. In frontage, but what we're really trying to do is trying to create a reasonable lot size while maximizing the open space. So the longer you make the road, the more it takes.
Right.
So it's kind of the balance. Obviously, what we really want to do here is utilize the existing driveway in that location. So we would likely end out with a common driveway here, which would utilize this portion of Mr. Vaughn's driveway, and then it would split off to another buildable lot.
And the plan for Lot 5A1 is to maintain as open space as,
That's correct. It would all be open space. So all the green area that's shown on this plan would be placed in permanent open space.
Is that a small right-of-way between lots
Yeah,
8 and 9?
That was one of the recommendations from the planning board, is to provide connectivity to the road so that, because there will be sidewalks along this road, according to our meetings with the Community Development Office. So that is access to the open space.
Okay. Will there be any clearing in that to actually have access?
I don't think there would need to be. I think
It's pretty open.
the goal would be to, have somebody create a path, not necessarily building one.
I mean, it's not so thick. It's pretty, a little older growth.
And this is a very conceptual plan at this stage. I don't want to sit here and say this is it. But at the same time, this is where we start. And it's important for us to present what we have, the goal, and hopefully get some feedback from the commission so that we can build from there. And I say that because the alignment of this may end up being slightly different once we go on the field, in the field and do a detailed survey of that particular area. It may make sense for it to be, on a different common boundary so that there, wouldn't be tree cutting and other land alteration necessary to get there, if in fact that exists in that location. But
Okay. Yeah, well, yep, go ahead.
Thanks. I appreciate you gentlemen coming here tonight. Thank you. The process of our discussion, because what I understand is they're asking for a written formal confirmation in writing of support for the project. Typically, as a commission, that's not our role. That's not what we do. We typically state any concerns that we might have and address those concerns to the planning board. So I'm a little uncomfortable with, I don't know how everybody else feels about actually writing something in support of a particular project and setting precedents for something like that too, and I really don't feel that as a commission I have the expertise or the knowledge of community development weighing in on things like this. So if we had concerns, I think probably one of our major concerns as a commission would be the septic, especially with the wetlands. So if we were to, voice what some of our concerns were and see if those could be addressed, I think I'd personally be more comfortable with that approach.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my 2 cents.
So in the last few years, we've had 2 other cluster subdivisions come before us at this preliminary stage looking for general support. One being the Chestnut Hill Old Blood one. That one did not have to go through ZBA, if I recall correctly, because it met all the stipulations of a cluster subdivision with the sewer, the water, and enough land and the ratios and all that. And then the other one was Tomasian, which had the issue with the sewer. And so at both points in time, we provided, so for Chestnut Hill, we provided a general concept agreement, I believe is where we left it. And then for Tomasian, we also provided a comment to ZBA stating that if it was going to be developed, that the cluster arrangement there we felt was more appropriate than the conventional development. And that one was mostly because of the river. The intent was to create the open space around it and keep it above the 250-foot line from the Sauhegan River. The Sauhegan being a protected river, up to 250 feet, there's shoreline protection issues that come with that. So, and because of the way they structured the cluster and got it out of that and provided that back to the town through an easement, we felt that was the more appropriate use there. So we addressed letters that were concept related. So, and
if somebody wanted to do that and state the reasons why, I'm absolutely open to listening. But right now, I'm personally not comfortable with saying, yes, I'm in support of this, because I don't really know exactly what I would be in support of as a Conservation Commission. But thank you for that, Tim.
Yep.
I suppose with the point you're making, the way they're proposing this subdivision with this concept, you can almost compare it to that. This is a budding conservation land where we would like to see green land, just like we'd like to see that green land at that Tomasian on the river. We'd like to see the buffer, that adding of land to that parcel of green land, So that concept, I look at it as be something positive.
I do look at this as very similar to the Tomasian project. Granted, the river flow is not there, but we have conservation property there that we're equally as concerned about. So
Partially agree. The river flow kind of does exist,
well, yeah.
especially if you look at the road coming in at 400 feet, and then the wet area is at 340. those lawns on 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 are going to be flowing, all the fertilizer is going to be flowing right into that.
Yeah, and we have, I mean, if you want to, obviously this kind of comes back into what you had said, Mr. Chairman. We would be back before you, during the subdivision stage, where we would be able to certainly address concerns and comments relative to that, because this project would require an alteration of terrain permit. So there would be substantial drainage improvements proposed as part of the development. But I think just to speak to location, there is substantial distance between the road, the house, potential house placements here, and then those jurisdictional areas as well. And those would be things that we would be able to present. There also, the one thing that this plan doesn't show is and when we met with the Community Development Office, they didn't feel like preparing a conventional plan proving what you could get for density was really a necessity, because when you look at the project or the property, 74.5 acres, you can get a pretty good idea what we're talking about as far as what we would be allowed by density by right if we built the infrastructure. So what we were talking about, we had roughly, I think it was a 1,400-foot cul-de-sac was our original proposal. We showed 12 lots, didn't need any relief for that. So that's pretty close to what you have here. We're at 1,500 feet. We have 17 lots, including the existing house. And we need relief because now it's the cluster subdivision. But to prove the density, there was the subdivision back in '06 that showed a right-of-way that came in here and actually curled around. And there was 9 lots off of that, and they did not have this parcel. So we would we'd be looking at a density of well over what we're proposing if we were going a conventional avenue. So I think the rationale of, the density isn't the issue here, at least in my mind. The lots sizes that we're proposing are actually, we're talking 0.3 acres less than what is required in this zone. The soils, based on the preliminary studies that we've done in the test pits that we've performed on each lot, we know are going to support the septic system. So, I'm sitting before you this evening, and granted a lot of the work we've done is preliminary. I can tell you for certain that the lots are going to be adequate for septic systems. So with all of that said, what we're really looking for, and maybe I've requested it in the wrong manner, is some support in the direction of a concept. Does it make sense to go conventional or cluster? And I understand the support that you can give us is directly related to the information that we can give you. So we are quite preliminary, but just in that same token, if you can give us preliminary support based on what we've given you, it at least allows us. And I think part of this process, the next meeting we go to is going to be the planning board. First thing the planning board is going to ask us is, well, it'd be good to know what the Conservation Commission thinks. So in the interest of having a productive meeting at the planning board, we thought this would make the most sense. And I do understand what you're saying, where typically you're being asked for the input. I guess we're trying to preempt that a little bit. Doesn't make sense for us to go to the planning board if we're not meeting the minds here. So.
Okay, so if I may, I do have a few concerns that I want to bring up.
Okay.
So, back when a cell tower was proposed for here, we're going back 25 years. Dick Bond, a soil scientist, did a look at the parcel, and he had some significant concerns about the soils and the slopes and the bedrock. I don't know if you've seen any of that. I pulled it out of the. Actually, it went to the ZBA. I apologize, I don't have the date. I thought I put the date on here, but so basically, and you might want to go down and take a look and ask them to pull their records for this lot, 4A23. So So it would be a ZBA file that you'd be looking for. They've got them color-coded so they can pull it rather quickly, but he basically stated that the soils on the property are Chatfield Hollis Rock Outcrop Complex, 15 to 30, 5% slopes, which I think you've got marked here. The Chatfield Hollis Complex, 8 to 15% slopes, and then a small amount of Canton Stony fine loam at 8 to 15% slopes. So that's just to give you an idea of the soils, which I think you probably pretty accurately have here. It's all the same ones that are called out. But his next comment, which was 19, these are the points that were brought to the ZBA as to why this was an appropriate use at the time for a cell tower. And basically, they were arguing that it was a better use than a residential use, just when you start going through it. But basically, it says that Richard Bond found that the bedrock is within 40 inches of the surface on more than 85% of the site, that the other 15% of the surface of the site is wetland, that approximately 5% of the 85% of the surface on the site is rock outcrop with no soil cover at all.
How much of that is rock outcrop?
5 of the 85.
That's where my house is.
It's, yeah. So,
That's, we're right on that 5%.
so with his findings of bedrock within 40 inches of the surface and so much of it, my concern is do you really have the soils, or are you going to have to bring in a lot of material in order to create the septic systems?
No, there's definitely adequate soils, and I can tell you, I don't know if he's basing that, and I haven't had an opportunity
yeah.
to review that.
Yeah, just wanted to bring it up. You'll have to contend with it
Right.
potentially if someone does
And we have a certified soil scientist
Yeah.
and wetland scientist in-house who is the individual that witnessed all of the test pits out there.
Okay.
We did notify the town. I believe the town may have witnessed a couple of the pits.
Yeah, Fred came out. I dug the pit, so I know they're
Right.
48 inches.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I don't think we ran into ledge less than 48 inches on site.
Okay.
And that is more than adequate, meets all the local and state requirements for soils, to adequately support, a septic system. I am a licensed septic designer as well as a professional engineer. So I can speak to the requirements of what,
I just wanted to raise this with you. That
No, I
in the
appreciate
record,
you
in the
sharing
old
that with
record,
me. I
so-
mean, it's certainly good to
Yeah.
know that information exists, and
Yeah.
I'll certainly get a copy of that so I can.
Yeah. So our concerns would be that you do have the soils and the depths that you need, and which you would have to show anyways, but just wanted to make that
Yeah.
upfront to all of you, so.
We dug at least one test pit on every lot, and many of the test pits, I think we were, 5 to 6, 7 feet in a couple of them where, we weren't hitting any refusal. So we definitely, there's quite a bit of soil. And there is ledge. I mean, at some point you hit ledge on the property.
Oh, yeah, we're well aware of it. It's not just there, it's all through.
Yeah, I was kiddingly saying, when we first did our place, there was a huge, that's why. I'm sorry. So I remember when we were looking to build up there, my wife and I looked and she said, "Oh my, look at the view from this little spot. This is where the house has to go." And that was the place where the hunter sat and looked off the ledge. And
Yeah.
so that particular spot does. And maybe when when he does that study, is he doing it for the 100 square feet that they want the tower, or is he, and the ability to get there, or the whole?
I don't have the data that went behind that. So this is an engineering firm that took his information and put it into a bunch of bullets.
To try to sell the cell tower.
Exactly, to try and sell the cell tower.
And-
So there might be more data behind that. I don't have that. They might have it on record. I didn't look
Okay.
for it. But I just wanted to make you aware that if someone
Certainly.
looks, because there's been a number of subdivisions and other plans for these lots here, as you brought up.
Yeah, and I also will say that I have been approached by Verizon recently, who has been, I think, very close to wanting to talk about how they would fit a cell tower up there again.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that we can figure out how it would work with the subdivision and how we do everything, so it's kind of,
Yeah.
but they're, I'm sure they'll be if we agree that there's a way to do it, they'll be in front of the board again.
Yeah, okay. So that was one point that I just wanted to make you aware of. And it would be a concern for us is that you do really have the soils to do the septic. And then, of course, there's water. I mean, do you really have the water? I remember when you proposed the upgrade to South Grader Road, that entrance there to put the driveway in for that other lot, the concern of water then. And to do some of this, you're talking about probably potentially some blasting or chipping away at rock and stuff like that. So in order to create the drive that you'll
I
need.
don't think that we're going to, I don't think that we're going to need to blast for the road.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think that we're going to need to blast for the road, but testing.
I was just looking at it saying.
But the water became an issue at the planning board.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
there
and I
was
saw the minutes.
there was a couple of abutters that came up and said, "Hey, I don't have water, and I want to make sure it doesn't get worse."
Right.
And we've talked to those abutters, and Mike's one of the abutters from the planning board there, and that's where we said, "Hey, we got to go have this study."
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So we'd be looking to see that study.
the study, yeah.
Yeah.
And we've also talked to the one that has the worst situation and talked about potentially offering him some space for a new well, which
I think
he
the
believes is close.
the biggest issue,
Dowser.
the biggest issue with the water, for a lot of these, or for I guess just a couple, and it's interesting because is it this gentleman who has all kinds of water?
One of them has it.
Yeah, like
I think it's Mike from the planning board, but
it's very sporadic through there, and what
Yeah.
we've talked, one of the things that kind of spurred from that meeting was calling out and talking to Skillings and other companies that drill for water. And in talking with Skillings, they'll tell you they have never not found water on a lot in the state of New Hampshire. What I think the issue is with, maybe some of these abutters or one of the abutters, I think there's only really one or two problems, is they have a small lot. So their opportunity for water is a lot smaller than, a 2-acre lot, or, a larger piece of land. And then, it does cost money, so there could be a financial element where maybe they can't, hydrofrac or, go down further or other avenues that would bring water to their lot. And I'm just speculating. Again, I'm not a hydrogeologist. We did, through Brett's authorization, hire a consultant, and through Mike Redding's recommendation as well. And I think we'll have that information, and obviously that'll become a pretty key part to our proposal and presentation to the planning board. But we would be happy to share that, with the commission as well.
Yeah, and we will certainly be concerned with how you address stormwater retention, detention, however you want to call it. So, but that's further down the process as well. Curious, the common land, you've talked conservation. Are you looking at creating a homeowners association to manage that land? Are you looking to donate it? You're looking to have an easement put on it? Any thoughts at this point that you want to share?
I was thinking it would be conservation land, but I do realize that, or I'm learning that you may not want it, or.
So when you say conservation, you mean actually turn it over to the commission, or you're saying just designating it, or just deeding it conservation and leaving it that way?
I've kind of been trying to figure out all the ramifications, tax ramifications, and what goes on, but I had thought, it would be turned over to the Conservation Commission, just like the land that you purchased, because I don't see, you can't do anything except log it.
Yeah.
If you keep it with the homeowners association, I'm not educated enough in that to understand why you would keep it. You guys would be better off managing it than a homeowners association.
So experience says that whenever you turn it over to a homeowners association, they either don't get formed or they go defunct at some point.
Right.
The properties change hands, they lose the history, that doesn't get passed along when the sale is done, and then there's no longer a homeowners association. Everyone assumes it's their backyard, and
Something else to argue about.
yeah, exactly. So, so we would prefer, I think, that it was, either an easement granted to a land trust or to the town, or it got donated to some sort of entity that has the ability to monitor it and to properly conserve it. So. All right. Just a couple of more points here. So you're certainly going to have some fun with driveways in there, but
That's really,
when I went looking for the wetlands, all the plans I saw which showed the wetlands that you've got depicted here they were mapped in 2002. We would certainly need an updated wetland survey done.
Okay.
'Cause that's way out of date, well beyond the 10 years that they're theoretically viable. So just make you aware of that.
Sure. We would have to certify that as part of the subdivision submission. So we would typically field check and remap anyways, but
Yeah.
yep, I understand.
And we'd be looking for that stamp and the licensed person who put it on there. So.
It's likely change as well with the subdivision of that.
It's potential that the improvements that have been made on the lot that got much smaller could impact the wetlands that are there as well at some point. Hopefully not, but it's possible.
So what you're saying that you want the study to incorporate that piece of property?
Just your property, but that property may have positively or negatively affected it.
Yeah.
Oh, that
Changes
Yeah.
on that parcel that was subdivided.
Essentially saying that the wetlands could have changed.
Oh, they could have changed on that piece. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
On
It wasn't
your
that
parcel.
was just a lot line adjustment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that lot was a lot
Yeah.
But they built up there.
They did.
on the lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm saying they could have done some improvements that are going to help your.
Oh,
It's not just me.
Yeah.
when we did that, we had to certainly improve the drainage and the sediment ponds and such.
We would be responsible for, delineating and certifying in all of the jurisdictional wetlands, as well as the high-intensity soil survey and doing all of the things that would support, the proposal.
All right. So I've kind of gone over all the things that I had. So what's the thought of the commission? Are you open to their request to provide a conceptual agreement or not? And are there any caveats you'd like to put on it if you are?
I'm going to go back to my original comment earlier. I feel this is similar to a subdivision that we've already,
Yeah.
tacitly approved or supported. That it seems to make sense what they're doing and why they're doing it. So technically, can it happen? Yes. That's really kind of our. I feel our decision is yes. Is it something that can or can happen? It's not whether we approve it or not. It's just saying, yeah, it's a viable design for the property that it's on.
and would we rather see a cluster rather than a more open typical development,
exactly.
assuming more acreage?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably rather see the cluster, like the way they have it designed there.
That was kind of the
Yeah.
original thought, not necessarily a recommendation like, well, let's build a subdivision, but given the conventional, which would, certainly the lots would incorporate that wetland, it's better that the conservation owns the property. So that's
Yeah.
the general positive swing that I think that we're looking for.
So is that the consensus of the commission, that you feel that this is a better solution than a conventional development?
I'm just going to say, I think our first choice, of course, would be no build. I mean, you could just donate everything to us, but so
Or we can-
That goes without saying.
yeah,
We could
okay.
talk to you on the side as well. We weren't ready
Yeah.
when you purchased that
Yeah.
other parcel, but.
From what you paid for yours and what he's gonna,
Yeah, go ahead.
I wish that you'd have done it first, and then, no, because then we wouldn't have my
Okay.
speaker's not even on anyway, I'm just
All right.
mumbling.
All right. All right, so, go ahead.
And I'm not trying to be difficult. I wasn't here for the conversation on that other piece because I'm new since this past spring to the commission. I haven't actually, didn't sit in on that other conversation. So I think if somebody were to put something forward, I wouldn't say yes or no. I hate to abstain, but I just don't feel comfortable saying that I support anything regarding this project at this point. I just don't feel I have the knowledge base or the experience really to put my name to it.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Yeah. All right, so let me make it a little more formal then. So I'll move that if the parcels are to be developed, that we would prefer to see a cluster development as depicted, or similar to what's depicted, as opposed to a conventional development across the two lots, with the stipulations that we believe that the soils need to be appropriately tested to support septic, and that water needs to be appropriately tested to support water needs, and that all stormwater and drainage issues can be resolved as part of the subdivision process.
We had a comment about the ratio of lot size to green space.
We can, the cluster subdivision rules stipulate that as well. Should I go ahead? Yeah.
I'm including 5A1
Yeah.
in the whole scheme of.
So how would you like to phrase that?
No, I believe it's above and beyond the requirement.
Yeah.
And
And that we
Again-
prefer, we
again, that
prefer it to
we're-
stay within.
yeah, because we're going to we have two parcels now on either side of it that are going to remain in conservation
Yeah.
property, and this 5A1 is a great connector for those two pieces as opposed to being connected in the corner.
You can take that rusty truck there. There's like a rusted Woody
Oh, yeah.
station wagon. Isn't that on that property?
That's on, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's a whole 30s. It's full of bullet holes.
It's an old pickup truck, I think.
Yeah.
It's really old, yeah. It might be gone.
It's still,
Rusted away.
No, it's still
there.
And let me further say, we would prefer to see that the conservation be done with an appropriate entity, whether that's the town or a land trust, or the Conservation Commission, so.
Okay.
Okay, does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay,
I'll second that.
all right, seconded by Matt. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions? So the motion passes 5-0-1 with Jody abstaining.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it.
Okay. All right, so when do you propose to go to the ZBA or the planning board? Roughly, it's not tomorrow, right? It's
No,
on
no,
Wednesday,
no.
right?
We will probably submit for to get before the planning board at their next agenda to go over the details of what we're proposing, and then we'll go to the zoning board, once we get through, their feedback as well.
All right, okay, so I'll draft a letter over the next week and copy you and provide that to Chairman Best. Do you want me to send it to the planning board or to both the ZBA and the planning board? How would you like me?
I think the planning board would probably be
Okay.
best at this time. We don't have an application before the zoning board yet,
Okay.
so it would probably wouldn't fall in a folder there.
Yeah.
But we have been before the planning board, and the zoning board will be, would follow. So maybe, once we submit an application to the zoning board, if if the same letter could be
Yeah.
resubmitted if needed, that would be
Yeah.
helpful.
Right, and, well, you'll have it, so you could submit it anyways. of
Sure.
course. So,
Sure.
okay,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. I noticed a number of you are in the public. Did any of you have a discussion on this item? Something you wanted to bring up? I didn't see any hands go up, so, but I'm more than happy to entertain your comments. Okay, right, thanks.
This is where those flags are tied from.
Oh, yeah,
It's gotta be from there.
you're right.
Okay. So next on our agenda is old business, is the Ned pipeline. Excuse me for, nope, not gonna sneeze. Yeah, look up at the light that does it, yeah, okay.
Helps.
Okay. All right, so, since our last meeting, I did file our last scoping comments, and I believe they made it before the deadline. You all saw that, that letter. We also had a meeting between the town council and Kinder Morgan on that Thursday the 8th. And hopefully you've all had a chance to at least see the video of that meeting. Can you share what's happened since that meeting, since I have not been around?
Well, for those of you who may not be aware, a change to the route was presented to us on us meeting the town council on the spot right then and there by Kinder Morgan. We didn't have the courtesy of a presentation prior to that meeting, so we saw a change that we were unaware of and had until last Friday to comment as well. So,
Whoops. You caught our folder. It's okay.
I made a couple of notes of a couple things I wanted to talk to you about. So the town council did put a letter in response to the Amherst alternate route as we had planned. I believe that letter was dated, it was either Thursday or Friday last week as well. I think it's posted on the town website. If it's not up there, I haven't checked it in the last couple of days. If it's not up there and you need a copy of it, just let me know. So we kind of went with the concerns that we had based on there's like 7 different versions of routes now. So we went with the concerns that we had regarding the Amherst alternate route we thought we were going to be discussing that night. And then we added a couple of comments. We also requested specifically that the comment period be extended in light of the route change that they gave to us, and I have no idea whether that request will be granted or not. And there was discussion again regarding the survey access agreement, which we still do not have signed. You'll all remember that the town council gave a final copy, take it or leave it. And Alan Four, who was present, you all know who Alan Four is, right? Alan Four, what's his title?
Public relations.
Something, yeah. Anyway, he's one of the higher ups, and he actually spoke to Chairman Harrington after the meeting was over and said that he would move that forward. We have since had a couple of gentlemen from, Michael Lennon was one of them, and is it John Prue? Is he the one that's going around? He was the one that approached me after the meeting. I have his business card. He's in charge of actually having the direct contact with people whose property might be affected. So that's his role. So he and Mike Lennon, I believe, have come to the town manager's office a couple of times looking for permits to survey and things without the access agreement being signed. So I believe the town manager also reminded them, not only we don't have a signed survey access agreement with the town, so you're not going to be getting any permits, and you also don't have formal permission to survey any of the Conservation Commission land that I'm aware of, or the school district property, which is now affected by the alternate route. So not sure that they're going to reach out to those entities or not. Let's see. There was a press release. I don't know if you saw this yet or not, Tim, where Kinder Morgan basically put out a big press release saying that it was their intention to file their formal application on November 20th. And a couple of representatives from Kinder Morgan have expressed to the town manager that alternate route option number 7 was their preferred route, and that was going to be the route, and that's the route that kind of tries to bypass Fidelity, because Fidelity made such a stink about the property, the pipeline going through their property. So it's yellow on the map. I have a map here if you guys, had seen it. So that's the latest version. They have indicated verbally to the town manager that that's the route that they intend to file with this application. I guess we'll see if that comes to fruition or not. So the subject of, we've talked a lot of, in the past, the town council, about whether or not to request intervenor status. And part of the process is you can't do that until they file the formal application. So we'll see if they meet the November 20th deadline, which they say they're going to. But I have requested that at I think it's going to be hopefully our meeting this coming week, that we're going to formally discuss as a body whether we're going to request the town council have intervenor status or not. So that might be something this body wants to start thinking about now too. We have been advised by our attorney that if we do intend to do that, you don't want to do that much later than after the application is filed. So in other words, start getting ready now and have something ready to go in writing by the 20th should they meet that deadline. I think that's it.
Okay. Anyone else have anything? I have a few items.
Well, I was just going to say that over like the last 2 days before the end of the scoping period, I think there was like 500 comments. So there's been a lot. I've been busy trying to send out if there is town filings or, senators. So I'm slowly going through them. So I will send out applicable ones. Yeah. I saw that sent out the Fidelity ones. I was disappointed by Penachuk there, but so I'm still going through everything and finding more.
Or MVD?
I think it was Penachuk that kind of said, well, I was glad that they made a lot of requests to use things, but I believe it ended like, well, this should be okay.
Okay, I have not gone through all your stuff.
Yeah.
I was the National Heritage Bureau. One comment that came out I was alerted to by our attorney, as well as through you, and that had a number of good points in it. So
I just sent one from the DES to everybody tonight, like right before I came here too. And then I found an article, the EPA apparently weighed in as well. And Penachuk, they didn't come right out, and they haven't all along. They haven't come out and formally stated they're against the pipeline, but they did give very specific requirements if they were to cross their property, what they physically would have to do in order to ensure that the drinking water would not be affected. So they gave very specific information in their outline. It would have been nice to see them say that they were against it, but they didn't.
okay, I have heard from Dr. Ansdell. If you'll recall, she spoke at the meeting. She's the lady who said, "Please buy my house." She was concerned with the heron rookery that appears behind her property on the Fidelity property. She said that she spoke directly to John Prue, who came out to visit with her. And explained some of that. She's also spoke to some of her neighbors, so she would like to know if there's anything more she can do and be alerted to activities that would be noteworthy for her. So just so you're aware, in case I don't get to it, if something happens, just be aware that she'd like to be contacted if something comes up. Also today, go ahead.
Do you have her contact?
I do, yeah.
Include it into the contact information we get from the outdoors.
Yeah,
So
okay.
we have it.
Yeah, okay. All right. She told me that she also did do comments to FERC since the last meeting, so if you can keep an eye out for Dr. Ansdell and Merrimack for her comments to FERC.
See, that's the thing about these alternate routes now, is people who had no idea that it would be affecting their property. Now they've got zero time to respond or make any comments. And some people did say it didn't affect me, so I didn't pay attention, which that's disappointing to hear from those of us who have been fighting this for almost a year now. But at the same time, I don't think, in all fairness to those people, that they should have this, plopped upon them right on their property, right abutting their property, and have absolutely no time to formally respond.
So while I was away, Lucas Meyer contacted me through email to try and set up a meeting to talk about wetland mitigation opportunities within Merrimack. So I spoke to him this afternoon and let him know that, like we all decided, that he should submit an agenda item and we could put him on the agenda. And he said that he's looking to try and become part of our agenda for one of our November meetings, if at all possible. So I explained to him how to go about doing it, and we'll see what happens. So, and that's all that I have directly here. Anyone have any concerns about the pipeline that's sitting in the audience that wants to speak to it? Right? I'm assuming that if you guys want to, if any of you have any comments, that you just raise your hand and get my attention as we go. Yeah.
Could you move your mic a little closer?
I can. The mic is, well, does it sound better now through the speakers? Yeah, all right, okay. Sorry, yeah, I'm just not feeling well tonight, so. Yeah, so, okay. All right, so then I guess that's all we have then for the old business in the net pipeline. So next on our agenda is the forestry plan for Wasserman Conservation Area and Riverside Park. This agenda item comes around from the fact that we're interested in doing a stewardship plan for Wasserman Conservation Area. And a while ago, you'd asked me to reach out to our forester to see what he was thinking and what the forestry aspect of it might be. So as you all got in your backup material, to do a forestry-only plan for Wasserman Conservation Area, he would charge us $2,875, which would only be a portion of an overall stewardship plan. Which we would then have to, figure out how we're going to do. Since the commission decided to go forward with getting a quote for that, I've been thinking long and hard about how we're going to go about putting together a stewardship or management plan for that property. We debated in 2014 what a template should look like for a stewardship plan, and I have got a whole stack of stuff from material from that was part of that. By the way, that's yours. I apparently had that, and I should have given it to you. I apologize. So it's all old stuff that you're well aware of, I believe. So, we've kind of tossed it around a little bit. I know when we did the Horseshoe master plan and then the definitive plan, that both those were year-long processes of many hours. And the Greater Wood Stewardship Plan was a multi-year effort, done probably 3 different times in 3 different ways to finally get it together. So my question to all of you is do we want to follow what we've done in the past, or are we maybe thinking that maybe now's the time to, with a smaller parcel, to take a look at having a professional do a stewardship plan for us if we gave them enough outlines or guidelines? What's your thoughts?
However much I'd like to do it, I have no extra time right now to get into this. So I know I'm not the only one in that arena. I mean, it's so where it's a small parcel, it might be something that we can may be able to get a good template from somebody that explains what we should be doing in the future. But I think for me right now, I'm assuming that that's something that's going to have done.
Aside from the forestry on Wasserman Park, what is there? What?
Maybe like a future trail management,
We have that already?
ecological,
Which
he's going to.
Yeah,
He's gonna do
we
anyway.
don't have a timber stand map
right.
in there. We don't have any idea about the soils. I mean, there's items in there, hydrology, and we just don't really have anything that's other than the fact that we've walked it and said, yeah, it's a nice place, and it's obviously used, used well. We've got a large invasive patch right through the center of it. I mean, there's a lot of things down there that maybe should, be good to document.
But the forestry plan's going to do a lot of what you just said.
Yeah.
I just don't know value.
Is it
Right.
worth it?
What other value are we going to get from doing an entire stewardship plan on such a small parcel that's that's already well known? I just don't know what else we're going to get. Forestry, we definitely have to do that there. This sounds like a great proposal. I just don't know what else we need there that makes sense spending money.
Thoughts, comments?
That's valid.
Yep.
Valid thought.
Absolutely, yep. Yeah, my thoughts were around, is there hidden things out there that we're not aware of? Are there rare communities, things that we learned from Jeff since, dealing with Horse Hill and stuff like that we should probably understand? There are, what are the strategies to deal with the invasives? What do we really know about the 20-acre parcel that sits next to it? Should we do a study that encompasses all 100 acres? I kind of think we should. If we're going to spend the time on one of them, we ought to do our abutting property as well. And then after that, it's trail systems and things like that. Should we consider not doing them where we have them? Should we disconnect or drop any off? Are there other areas that we might want to do more work on? Is there any wetland issues that we want to be aware of? Beaver or other animal activities we want to be aware of that a forester might not necessarily cover. So that was my thought of taking it beyond just a forestry plan. I guess the last point is like we did with Greater Woods. Is there a list of projects we want to get out of this or priority things that we want to address on that parcel at some point? So the other part of this is the LSIP agreement says that we should have some sort of management plan for the property, which we don't have. But we could structure that around a forestry plan and not do a whole lot more than that. So.
You know what I guess I'll volunteer to do is see if I can get.
I'm not pushing your arm.
No, I will work with NHACC to see if I can find a student volunteer, maybe somebody that needs credits for what? Credits for internship.
Yeah.
And if they want to take on this project, doing a full stewardship plan, because there is more recently than 14 when we discussed, there's a New Hampshire method now of a stewardship plan. So there's probably a course on it. There's probably somebody looking at internship time, and I can maybe work with Nick to see if we can find somebody to do that for us. All right, Tim, you got me.
Yeah. Does that sound like something we want to do as a commission, is to find out?
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
there's no time urgency here, so I don't think. So, all right. So Matt's going to do some research, huh? Okay.
Is that what it's called, New Hampshire method?
Well, the New Hampshire method is typically refers to mapping of wetlands and stuff like that, so I'm not sure it's the New Hampshire method for plants.
I
Yes.
forget. It was in the latest newsletter, NHACC.
Okay. All right. So my last conversation with Mike Powers was that we were going to look into this, and that we may or may not move forward because we're going to look at other options as well. So he won't be surprised. So, but I will make him aware that we're going to put his quote on hold for now. Okay, so that takes care of new business. So now other business. So the first item is the kiosk at Watson Park. Has anyone had a chance to go down and take a look at it?
Looked
Because
at
it
it
is
today.
it is mostly done at this point.
It's pretty good.
The latest email exchange from Anthony, the artist, and he had a partner helping him, was that he needed to do some sealing of the artwork on the kiosk itself. I was approached just before I went on vacation if we could utilize all the funds that were allocated, because we had allocated up to $600 to do that work, thinking that it was $500 to do it. If we could utilize another $100 for him to do the structure that covers the electrical panels and stuff like that. I don't know if you've noticed, in the middle of Watson Park is, well, not the middle, but there's the pavilion, and then there's our kiosk, which is near the river system. But over here off the pavilion, before you head up into the homes, there's a looks like a one-panel kiosk.
Looks like it's hiding something.
It's hiding electrical
Yeah.
circuit breaker panels and stuff like that. That's what drives the power to the pavilion. I was asked if he could put an animal, painted animal on that as opposed to having it be brown. So that is something he's going to move forward with and keep it within the $600. So that needs to be completed, and the sealing of all of it, and then it'll be done. But he did get a front page on the Telegraph. I haven't seen the actual article. I think that came out last week, and he was in the patch as well, which is things that he appreciates. So I have pictures on my computer. I can put them up. If not, you can go take a look. But I think it came out very well. So the last item then on that is George May, who's been really supporting us to get this done. Would like to have some sort of a ceremony or something that says, it's done. So more to come on that, but just be aware that that's something you'd like to do. So, all right, okay, all right. Let me just make a note to myself. I gotta get back to George. I got a long list of to-dos since I was away. I literally shut the phone off and the computers off and didn't do anything. Yeah, just like,
Look what happened, you got sick.
yes, I did. At least it happened on the day I was coming home, was being done when I was out there. So, all right. So the next thing is the Horse Hill Nature Preserve parking lot. The update for that is, as we all know, the wetlands have been delineated. I did speak to Kyle Fox about laying out a plan for that. He would like to come to our November 2nd meeting to discuss some options. He today got all the shape files from Tracy, so he's got an idea of where things are for his to put into the GIS system. Kyle suggested that we do a more hard surface in that parking lot and not leave it the gravel that it is, and do something similar to the parking lot that was done for Wasserman Park to provide the parking down by the lake.
Farm pavement.
It's not a real pavement, but it's like a pavement. They take a bunch of it and they push it all together and squish it, and it becomes a hard surface.
Is it porous or not?
Yeah, fairly porous. Yeah,
Water will penetrate.
yeah. The idea for that is the parking lot, to fit within the area, would become more square as opposed to rectangular as it is now. And he said if it's harder surface, you can line it, and you can create parking spots which would encourage people to park in the middle of the parking lot, like they would as if going into a store parking lot or something like that, so that we could actually have rows of parking. Because if we actually just made it square, people would just still park all the way around it. We'd have all this open space, and theoretically, if there's enough room to back up and everything, we'd be losing parking spots. And with a gravel surface, you can't even line it. So I think we're going to see a proposal like that. He told me that the Wasserman parking lot was in the order of $10,000 or $12,000 to put in. So we'll see. We'll see what he comes up with. But he wants to come to our November 2nd meeting to discuss it. So, So I said, yeah, please do come.
Do you think that discussion will involve different proposals from Kyle?
Well, I know that's his primary proposal. He wants to look at it. Is there something else you want Tim to specifically address?
No, I'm wondering if he's going to be at the point of, here's what I recommend. Do you want to go with that?
Yeah, I think he will be.
Okay.
In fact, I asked him, I said, is it too late to do something like that at this point in the year? And he said it might not be. So we'll have to wait and see.
So is he including expanding it towards Roland's house too?
Yeah, I mentioned to
Okay.
him that was an option. I told him, I said, he needs to go take a look because it's already been preliminary expanded a little bit, but I'd like to see what kind of yield we get for parking spots with this kind of an arrangement, so that way we don't have to go too close to Roland's home.
Right, yeah,
Oh.
agreed.
So,
Okay.
I'll invite the subcommittee as well to the November 2nd meeting. So. I do know that I encouraged Newt to speak to Kyle a few weeks ago about plans or thoughts. I'm not sure that's happened yet, so. All right.
Well, we had a subcommittee meeting last week, and I don't believe he had spoken with Kyle yet. I mean, I communicated that we were waiting for proposals, we were waiting to hear back from Kyle, so.
Yeah.
I don't.
Okay. All right, so then the next item on our agenda is the Watonic-Bowman agreement. This was put on because there was some conversation at the end of our meeting last about, should we look at that again? Concerns to whether or not the agreement is still in place and all of that. So, John, are you here for that?
That's why I'm here.
Can you come join us?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
President of the club?
Yep.
Ray Greenleaf?
Yep.
My name's John Hall.
Yeah, so can I get both of you just to sign so that way our minutes taker gets your name spelled correctly and all that, so. Yep, and are they on?
Turn the mics on. Yeah, there you go.
So for John and for Ray, just to let you know, at our last meeting, we were thinking it's been a while since we've had an agreement in place, and wondering if now's the time we should look at it again. Has it worked in the two bodies? Is there things we want to do differently, maybe? So.
Are you referring to the parking lot agreement, or
Yeah,
the sharing of the safety zone around the
I-
property?
I think at one point there was a written agreement, so we put this on I put this on the agenda item just for the commission to say, do we want to bring this up again? Do we think this is the right time to talk about it again? Are we happy with it as a commission? And then what I was going to do if the commission said, yes, we should bring it up again, is I was going to have a formal agenda item, and then I was going to let you folks know that we wanted to talk about it some more. So this was kind of a preliminary agenda item, if you want to call it that. So, but since you've come, I would love to hear what you have to say. So,
Yeah, I have copies of the original documents. They were dated, and they were written and signed by one of the preceding earlier town managers.
Yep.
After a lot of discussion about how can the club and the town utilize the Bowman parking area in conjunction with the park, with Horse Hill, and we all agreed that we could come up with a plan, because we already had an existing parking lot, and it gives access to Horse Hill from that area. And to date, I can't think of any issues that we have had with any parties, as far as that goes.
okay.
But at any given time, there could be probably 3 to 5 cars down there, hikers down there, in which we're glad to see them, because, our parking lot is basically for our Sunday archery shoots that we have, and, we don't fill it up at all anyway, so it's nice that we can, have them there. It was kind of an agreement that, well, you guys could park here, and we could still use some of the, Horse Hill land for our, 3D shoots.
Yeah.
That's how it all came about, and, it's been working good for us, and, if you people have any inputs or anything, we're here to listen, or, we just wanted to know, we were here just to see what the input was, or if you guys are happy with us, or we're happy with you, or, and it seems, it's working good for us.
Right. So I think we're certainly very happy to have a kiosk there so we can provide some information. Honestly, I'm not sure how updated it is. I know that Newt and those folks have been doing things on it.
Looks
So
good.
yeah.
Looks good.
Yeah.
The exposure too, prior to that, prior to the Huss Hill and all the developing, there was constant problems with OHRV dirt bikes and other problems, damaging of archery sites and things like that. That's all but gone. Now that with the exposure and the road is fairly good, so the police department can get in and out of there.
Yeah.
And on the weekends when we have shoots, I always stop by the police station to allow the shift commander and everybody to know that we're there. And when we're not there, he could go in and check it out, because that, they need to know what's going on. And we've cut back on trash dumpage, all of that kind of stuff. It's been a win-win situation for both the Wetonic and the town, I think. Very seldom is there an issue. There's some mix-up sometimes. People end up like on our trails per se, but it's not an issue. It's just like the trails are pretty open. They are open, and occasionally, like over where our shooting range is, somebody might come by on a dirt bike, but there's never really an issue as far as, we just tell them that's it. They're off from Huss Hill, and they'll say, well, where are we? So we say, well, okay, we'll tell you where you are, but just go down to the signage and have a look at the map, and you'll kind of know where the main trails are, because they're pretty clearly marked.
Do you mean bicycles or dirt bikes?
No. Legal riding mountain bikes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Okay.
the good guys.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing I know from our experiences is there has been some times, including the recent shoot that you had, where some items were left behind. And
That's not supposed to happen, but it's not 100%, and it can happen.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, anything we leave out there, if it's a target, it has pretty good value.
Yeah.
And if it's done, it's strictly an error on somebody's part that missed it.
Yeah.
For a regular sponsored shoot, we put out 30 3D targets. Okay, and they're marked, and then all the ribbons are out there, and so on and so forth. Just to let you know that we do not shoot across any trails. The main trails are kept open, and if there's any issue where somebody thinks that somebody's being restrained or whatever, they're not talking to anybody from the club, because we don't tape off any major trails. We might use the trail to get to the next target, which might be like a walk back, but everything is strategically placed for safety, and depends on the situation. So some people get a little nervous when they see, people carrying archery equipment, I suspect. But that's kind of the thing. And if someone discusses or has a question and they're talking to one of our club members, I'm sure everything's fine. If they happen to talk to somebody unknown or one of the people that are participating,
right.
God only knows what the discussion is about or where it's going. So that's that's part of that.
Yeah.
But I've been a member of the club for more than 40 years. The club was incorporated in 1952, and I can't think of an episode where it wasn't resolved quickly, unless it was with some dirt bikers or whatever. But that's pretty much history.
Yeah. And I know last year, not 15, but in 14, there was an instance where there was no signage on the quarry trail as it comes across Natticook Road, and then there was nothing that said there's a shoot going on, even though there were signs in the other places. And we had one person who walked into the middle of one of your shoots who was rather surprised because the arrows were flying. So
I suppose that could happen.
Yeah.
What I do is I give Newt Coriel.
Yeah.
He has a complete list early in the year so that he can post to the
Yeah, it's
kiosks.
Yep,
the,
usually posted
shoot.
there for our weekends, we're having the shoots anyways, but,
Yeah.
and the only incident that I know of that really disturbed me, and we thought we had it pretty well figured out, it's right next to the swamp, which is on our land, and like John says, all the trails kind of open up to,
Right.
each other anyways, and we had put a do not enter sign and put survey red tape on it, because our target was going to be, a little bit further into there, and 12 mountain bikes decided to break through the ribbon and get behind our target. And so we get a little upset with those people and say, well, we're just riding bikes. Well, this is our land, there's two different parcels of land here. And that's the only trouble is that, on some of your trails it says something old trail or something, so
Discontinued trail.
discontinued trails. And, that seems, people don't seem to go down there, but on the other ones, because 90% of the trails that you have right there was all made by Watonic in the first place, all your walking trails, so.
And you're only talking 4 weekends out of the year. So it's, we're associated with Granite State Bow Hunters, and what they do is so that all the clubs in the southern part of the state and a couple just over the Mass line, so that everybody can share a weekend. They draw in March for the various weekends throughout the summer and into the winter. So we never know for sure what the weekends are, except for Father's Day weekend. That's pretty much ours because that's a benefit shoot that we run from one of the local food pantries, and that weekend's pretty much dedicated to them. So other than that, we would like to, we'd like to be more proactive. And if you have any questions, now that you know Ray and myself, I'll give you my phone number before you leave. If you have any questions or if anybody, comes to you, feel free to call me and we'll nip it in the bud.
Yeah, I think Cindy and I were both at the Horse Hill Nature Preserve meeting last Monday. So a number of things came up, and I think the subcommittee, there's a lot of volunteers on the subcommittee that are out in the trails daily. And I think one of the concerns that came up is the paper plates that go up on the trees. It seems one of the volunteers is the one that takes those down on Mondays after the shoots, because it seems like they don't get taken down after the shoot because there's just so many. I mean, he came back, he took a picture of the stack that he had, and I mean, he must have had paper plates like this on that Monday.
Well, that's when we need to know, we need to know about that stuff.
I don't know how he could have that many, because we have 3 or 4 people. I'm not saying we don't miss a few, but usually there's less than 40 paper plates out there in the woods. There's one at each target, and sometimes there's one pointing to the direction to go. So, and we come back and we have stacks of them.
Yeah.
And usually we miss 1 or 2, and see what it is. We put them up that week before, sometime from Monday to Saturday, we put up the paper plates out there. And sometimes we go through and the paper plates are missing. So, either somebody, we've had incidences when hikers just pick up paper plates or our stakes that are right next to the trail and walk away with them. But, that's things that happen, whether or not they don't know and they just figure it's trash along the way and they want to, do away with it or something. And
well, I think he definitely knows because he's part of Newt's email chain, and he knows that the shoot's on Saturday or Sunday, and he goes out on Monday.
We appreciate the help.
Yeah, right.
We don't want anybody to get hurt picking up a paper plate.
If it's that many paper plates, we'd like to know about it because it's somebody's not doing their part on our end.
Yeah.
And
well, we'll make note of it.
And I think the recommendation also came, posting in the kiosks, great. But as you know, there are so many people that park
Yeah,
where there's
that's
no
it.
kiosk, because there are so many places to park for Horse Hill. So I just think having like an A-frame that says, target, shoot, and progress. And another one of the volunteers said, "What the heck is this 3D sign?" Nobody knows what 3D means
Right.
except people that are
Right.
shooting.
You're right.
So I just think having something that
Makes
said,
sense.
Archery.
archery shoot
Right, right.
in progress,
Right.
and you posted it, at the both power line entrances, somewhere on Quarry Trail, and then you're pretty much covered at that point.
Yeah.
That seems like an easy enough thing to do.
Because we do put up, John had made a whole bunch of signs, laminated them, and it says either do not enter archery shoots in progress or
Caution.
caution. When we put the caution ones up on the trails, like usually off the,
Loop.
off the power lines.
Oh, okay, yeah.
As they're coming in.
Sure.
Because that way we figure we get them as they're coming in and, to notify them,
Yeah.
But, sometimes it's,
Get me a little map of the area that we use and kind of like say, maybe one here and here. Just give us an idea where you think you want them, and it's something we can just do it.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, I have all John's contact information, so.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think,
We're
that
not going to
was-
post guards out there, though.
No, it was,
Yeah.
they had a great discussion at the
Yeah.
subcommittee meeting.
Right.
And I just think all of that information needs to
Sure.
get to you, and if Newt hasn't told you already,
Not
we'll-
everybody's
we'll
up
do
to
that.
speed on the whole archery thing.
Oh, absolutely, especially
The
on
people
our
that
end.
but the people that are in it,
Yeah.
they live and sleep it.
Sure, I mean, it's evident where you guys shoot on the Horse Hill property.
The
'Cause-
paths are there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like,
Looks like,
I don't know how many people you have in these shoots, but
well, if you wait till about 30 people go out, then you won't get lost. If you're the first one out there, you might get lost. But it's, the whole thing is geared on safety, and takes a while to set it up. Now, and that relates to whatever, other questions come up. To haul those all out there by hand and everything is a pretty impossible task, especially if you get to be, 70 years old, and you're only one of 5 or 6 worker bees. So what we do, and it's only for the setup and the takedown, is we have been using, and most people know, we've been using a 4-wheeler with a small trailer, so we can get the equipment out there and get it picked up. So I mean, and that hasn't been a problem. And I had heard vibrations about 4-wheelers, and we don't know what goes on when we're not there, because we only have those shoots those 4 weekends, and the rest of the time, there's no 4-wheelers used unless it's strictly on our property, maybe to go out and police up some fallen trees or whatever. But we don't allow, ATVs on our property. So if that question comes up, the only time we would have an ATV out there is for setup and takedown. And any other time, thought it'd be off limits, I suspect, to anybody else.
Yeah, I know that this particular subject has come up before, and our hope is that when the folks that are visiting, they see the ATV and all that none of them think that that's a normal thing for that parcel. So if anyone ever should ask you, hey, wow, you can take ATVs out here, I'm
Right.
hoping you're all saying, no, time out, no.
Right. No.
Yeah, we need to educate folks because we can have real problems if all of a sudden people think it's an ATV park.
Exactly,
So,
Exactly.
okay.
But hopefully that answers any questions you have, and if you have more, bingo.
Well, I very much appreciate you coming out, but I think we probably should take a look at the agreement because if I remember correctly, it had a time.
Oh, it did. It
Had a
ran
set-
out a long time
Yeah,
ago.
right.
But
Yeah.
I wasn't worried about it because it's
Yeah.
no problem. It's been business as usual. And if
Yeah.
you want to look at,
Yeah.
it's on file someplace. I have a copy.
I can get a copy. I'm sure I can. So we might take a quick look at it and
Yeah, sure.
maybe we'll have a conversation,
Exactly.
about it. If nothing else, maybe we'll just have a signing party and call it done for the next 5 years or whatever time frame we want to call it. So.
Yeah, we encourage, I'm sure like we're on the wire, I encourage anybody that thinks they're interested in archery, right, to come over and or give me a call, or Ray a call, and test it and see if you really are. And it's not just the modern stuff. It's the longbow, recurve, compound bows, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
So a lot of people have tried it, and they get hooked.
I guess the last comment while you're here is, as you know, we value your parcel very much so, so we should continue to talk about that, so.
Right.
All right.
We'll keep that
Yeah.
thought.
That's always there for discussion.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Except you have the two people here that might talk about it. The rest of our club, they don't want to think about that at the moment.
Yeah, okay.
But,
Well,
Okay,
yeah,
very good. Well,
we-
hopefully,
we've been dealing with another purchase, but I think once that's done, we should probably talk a little bit more about an arrangement that would work for all of us, so.
okay, very good. Nice to meet everybody.
just remember, we want 20 years of something.
Yeah, well, you figure the
Yeah.
club is incorporated in '52, and we'd like to see it there in, whatever, 2085. Not for our sake, but it'd be nice, and it's would be a good thing for the town to have for a long time. It's kind of got a archery label on it, and it'd be nice to keep it, because there's nothing else in town.
Yeah.
And we don't do things that go bang, 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 so,
We don't make much noise.
okay?
Okay, great.
Good, nice meeting you.
You too,
Thanks.
thank you.
Get your pen.
Is that, or, yeah.
I know that there wasn't one there, so.
Oh, there wasn't?
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Someone abscond with it.
oh, yeah, because I know there was one there to start with, so someone grabbed
Hi,
it.
guys.
Yeah,
you
we'll
much.
see ya, yeah,
No, because I put the thing there, unless you put the
Just
pen.
remember, any problems, call John.
yeah.
He's one of the neighbors that joins us up
Yeah.
on Old Kings Highway.
Yeah.
So if we needed the support, we were gonna call him to our aid, but he became a visitor.
Just as a general comment, I really enjoyed listening to the whole meeting and
Yeah.
thought it proceeded very efficiently and
There's space.
Yeah.
The big magnet, and I'm getting out of here.
Okay, anything else you want to, so my takeaway from that is to at least find the agreement and let's see where we are with it, because it is expired, so.
Would that be something that we would bring here and discuss before we,
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
great.
Yeah, and it'll require the town manager at least to be involved with this.
I would imagine.
Yeah,
And she may know.
right.
Mm.
Yeah, so that would just be the beginning, with starting with us.
Okay, great.
Okay. I'm assuming that's what you wanted when, was it you who brought it up, or was it you? I don't know.
Me.
Okay, all right.
No,
Yeah.
what made me think about it was the finding
Yeah.
what we found. And then last Monday, even after I asked you for it, we had a very long discussion at the Horse Hill
Yeah.
Subcommittee meeting with, additional things that we didn't discuss tonight.
Yeah.
Because they were, I was glad they were here. But those things should be brought up when we discuss
Mhm.
the
Agreement.
the agreement.
Yeah.
And maybe the site visit might even be in order.
Okay, yep. Good. Okay, so next item is the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commission's annual meeting. I did submit to finance for the 4 of us who have registered. If you decide, we can always do reimbursement. So just keep that out there. Beyond that, the meeting is on November the 7th, Saturday. Since we actually do have a meeting before that one, so on the 2nd. But to let folks know that we will be meeting, we will not have a true Conservation Commission meeting, but members of the commission will be at that. So no decisions will be made, no discussions will be happening. So
And we will be carpooling in a Prius.
Who's got the Prius?
all right. Anything else? Since our last meeting, I did contact Chief Doyle and Lieutenant Tarleton about the ATV issue at the Wasserman Conservation Area. I know you were actively involved with it. Do we think we've kind of succeeded there? so far?
It's been successful. You know, it really didn't. We really didn't find our target audience.
No?
However, we did find additional folks. You know, there were additional benefits that we didn't know were going to happen that came out of it. You know, one being our law enforcement personnel now know where Greater Woods is.
Greater Woods? Or you mean Wasserman Conservation Area?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm talking about Wasserman Conservation
Ah.
Area.
That one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. So yeah, that was actually very successful as well.
Yeah.
The officer that called me the first night said, "I'm gonna go over there and take a look," and he called me back and said, "I met somebody on a 4-wheeler." We had a great discussion, and I think they know now the rules.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So
All right, good.
couldn't happen better.
All right. Back to the Greater Woods one.
Hmm.
I was, and Jody had prompted me, it'd be probably good to do an update on that one. And are they done yet? Are they still doing them?
I don't think they're still doing them.
Okay, so it'd be
The
nice.
11th? Is that the day we walked? What day did we walk?
On Sunday, last Sunday.
Were they out there?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, I spent time tracking them and realized, oh, that's a white helmet and that's a cop.
So
Oh, you saw?
Yeah, so remember when we were walking down from the bench
Yeah.
and we saw that ATV go by?
Oh,
Just kind
yeah.
of putting along, you know, you're just being, you know, just driving along. That was him. 'Cause I
Oh.
saw him again. So, because I walked out back up through conservation, and I got halfway across Red Maple, and I heard something coming. So I went and got a good view. Yeah. And it was a policeman. So we sat and looked at the map for a while and talked about some of the new property. And so he'd been out in that. He started in from the range and went over by the range and stuff. So
Yeah.
they're still out there.
Okay.
Like they were at the time. So.
Yeah.
So that means on that one anyway, I didn't get a report.
Okay.
'Cause typically he had been anytime they ran a patrol, he sent me a report of
Okay.
the patrol and what the results were, and I've only gotten 5 so far year to date.
I know, I received a positive comment from one of the neighbors who ran into a police patrol out there.
Hmm.
And she relayed some concerns to him, and she thought it was good.
Good. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that he's hearing, or that all of the officers have been hearing from public, is we're really scared about the shooting. Because it sounds like it's coming, you know, over our heads.
Yeah.
And if you are on certain trails and they're shooting from where the evidence shows they're shooting,
Yeah.
they are shooting over people's heads.
Yeah.
So with that property becoming ours
Yeah.
here in the next couple weeks, we've got to really take that seriously.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of his comments.
Hmm.
As he, you know, because we started our walk from basically from the range, and you walk up the hill and you can see there's stuff lined up on top of that ridge, and they're shooting from down below up at it. And he that was one of his comments when I ran into him. He's like, "Yeah, I went up there and I just took everything that's on the top of the ridge and put it down on the bottom.
Yeah.
So there's nothing up top anymore. So I don't think that's going to be enough to stop people from
Right.
doing."
No, we'll have to put up some really big signs that says this property is now owned by the town of Merrimack and target shooting is not permitted without permission.
Hmm.
Which is state law, by the way. You need landowner permission to do it. So,
Another thing, I think this
It's
is
going to be a good target.
yes.
Yes,
I know.
that sign will be.
It will, but when you say, we put up notes that say police take notice,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, we'll need to
police
post it,
patrols are
for sure.
actively, we'll have to do something, so you're
Yeah.
right.
Smiling on candy camera.
Well, that was a thought. Yeah, video surveillance is occurring in this area.
I think one of the things the biggest things we could do is, on that site in particular, is just go clean it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of items that
That
are
would be
there
a
that
big
are
job.
that have been. Yeah. Well, no, but I mean, not so much the ground. I mean, you're just
Yeah.
you're not going to get all those casings up, but you know, the washer machine and the stuff that's out there that's attracting gunfire.
If I had a truck, it would be done.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I have you've seen the bags that I brought up there.
Yeah.
I have 5 bags full, just waiting
On
for,
the, yeah, we saw those.
I just need a truck.
Yeah,
I don't have a truck.
Well, once,
I
once we
tried to
get
get
the
in
property.
today, by the way, and I bottomed out twice in my truck,
Oh,
so I stopped.
yeah.
From which end?
I backed out. I didn't get all the way to the power lines before I bottomed out twice.
Yeah,
Okay,
you need a Tonka truck. To
My
get-
yeah, my ridge line doesn't have enough clearance to not bottom out. So yeah, and I mean that's really not a 4-wheeler anyways. It has 4-wheel drive, but it's not meant to go that
No,
way.
that's-
I need an
it's meant to go to
F-150.
dump.
I need an F-150, right? Oh yeah, it's a people carrier that happens to have a cargo area as well.
It's a truck.
It's a crap. Okay. All right. Well, soon enough we'll have the problem of dealing with the trash.
Yep.
So that's okay. Anything else on Wasserman ATV or Greater Woods ATV?
I think, a future agenda item after November 10th
Yeah.
will be gates.
Absolutely.
And, I guess the question is where?
Yep.
So I think we should all kind of start thinking about that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. As you know why I've been holding off on it.
yeah, right.
So. All right. Yeah. So we've nothing new on the beaver policy stuff, I take it, correct?
No.
Okay. All right. So the next thing on our agenda then is this my stuff or is that yours? Is that,
No, it's fine.
that's yours, okay.
Oh.
No, I'm just thinking what happened to the rest of my stuff?
I
Down here?
didn't take it.
Yeah,
Did I dump it all?
the,
Or did I not grab it all? Okay.
You want a minutes packet?
Did I give you more than I was
Yeah, you
supposed
did.
to?
I think you
That's
gave
why. That's why. I knew there was more. Okay.
All right. Is that the? Did I give you a copy of my? I think that's my copy.
That's
I think
probably,
that.
that's
Yeah.
probably yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yours. Good. All right. So, the minutes of October the 5th. Have a motion
Motion to approve the minutes is corrected.
as corrected,
As
okay.
amended, corrected, amended.
Is there a second to that? Seconded by Mike, moved by Gage. Gage, corrections?
I only came up with one item, and I'm not sure it's really correction. Page 1, line 51. It's water resource and wildlife and plant resources. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be an and then a second and, or if wildlife and plant resources are supposed to be one subject. So it's not really that big deal.
Yeah, the first "and" probably doesn't belong.
Yeah. I'm okay with taking the first and
Right.
out, and after the comma. Okay?
That was really the only thing I found.
Anyone else have corrections, updates, changes? Jody?
Thank you. Page 1, line 26, it was October 8th was the meeting with Kinder Morgan.
Okay.
Um,
Hopefully I didn't say the 7th.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Page 4 of 13, I have a question. Line 17, Jeff threw a lot of stuff at us and some things I wasn't familiar with, but the sentence that begins obligate, or is that a word that I'm
It
not
is.
understanding?
Yeah.
Or
it is.
secondary species?
Yeah.
So what does that word mean? Oops, sorry.
Yeah, I probably should have had Jeff clarify that.
Is that,
All right.
So there are primary species that you would normally find in wetlands,
Okay.
and then there are other species that arrive there because of the presence of the ones that are there.
All right.
Okay?
So that's kind of like the primary ones.
Right.
Okay, that makes
So,
sense, thank you.
okay.
And page 7 of 13. Again, it starts on line 24 and 25. It says Babusick Brook is a flow in a certain channel. What does that mean? Is that correct, or is something missing?
Flows, maybe, in a certain channel.
I tried to remember the context from the
Yeah.
discussion, but
Honestly, I
Yeah.
wasn't paying that close attention because I had recused myself, so.
okay. Can we, I don't know, unless somebody knows what it means, should we leave it or strike it? What would you recommend?
Well, we can ask Dawn to take a quick look at it
Okay.
and see if there was something
She does
else.
a great job with
Yep.
the minutes,
Yep,
by
these
the
are-
way. I'm not complaining. She
Yep.
does a really, really good job.
Yep.
Page 8 of 13, line 26 and 27, when it speaks to my comment, I would just like to add that I also, I did state that, that's accurate, the sentence there, but that I also expressed interest in learning more about the process for the sewer installation crossing the brook. I thought that was something, I mean, we talked about him coming back,
Yeah.
and I think a few other people, Matt maybe even said, yeah, I'd really like to see how you're gonna do that. So that was an important point I would just appreciate being added.
Okay.
And again, line 48, it was October 8th, the meeting with Kinder Morgan. Then page 9 of 13, line 52, 53, and 56, LaRue. And I meant to look up how Bob spells his last name. I don't know, you're a Frenchman, can you help me, Mike?
I know that's
It's
wrong.
L apostrophe capital H-E, I think there's an A in there somewhere, but it's H-E-R, is it E-A-U-X?
Why don't I take the action to give Dawn the proper
Okay.
spelling?
It is, something like that.
Thank you.
All right.
That might be it for me. That is it for me, thank you.
Okay, just so you know, I have not had a chance to look at the minutes, so, but I am confident that you folks have taken a look at it, so.
I have a few. On page 2, line 32, I think the second "more" should be taken out. That makes sense.
Line 32?
So it would be something more reminiscent of the southwestern part of the state.
Yeah, you're right.
Just reads better. And then page 3, line 57. Should that be, and then there is poor drainage? And then on page 5, line 8, I'm just wondering if we can list what NRCS stands for. You know, like below we have Natural Heritage Bureau, NHB. I don't remember what that stands for.
Wasn't it? I thought that was in here somewhere.
Is it in here?
Yeah, so on page 1, on line 56, the Natural Resource Conservation Service.
Okay, great, never mind, thank you. Let's see if anything else. On page 8, line 45. I believe that should be scoping comment period instead of just missing the S.
Coping.
Well, that's true, you're right.
We're all trying to cope.
There's a lot of coping going on.
That's true.
Yeah.
And then page 11, line 53. I think we should add Vice Chairman Karen. It just doesn't have your name. So, and then actually at the bottom of that page, I thought that you asked who wanted to attend on November 7th, and that me and Matt also both said we were wanting to come. But I could be remembering it wrong.
I'm not sure. I do know that I said, do your,
Yeah. It doesn't matter.
yeah.
Oh. Page 13, line 20. Your progress, just add an R.
Yes.
Should be your progress on
Yeah, your. Yeah, you should be your.
And that's all I have.
Okay.
But yeah, she does a fantastic job.
There's a lot to take in.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I don't know how she does it because I wouldn't be able to do it. But
Anything else? All those in favor of the minutes as amended signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? That passes 6-0-0. Okay. Next is public comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment? Public is good. All right. Commissioner comments? Cindy? No. Matt? Nothing else from the Horse Hill Subcommittee meeting you want to share? I don't want to put you on the spot, but. Right?
But he is.
yeah, but it is.
All right. Matt's good. Gage?
Real quick, Mike and I, we did have a chance to walk some of the property. We didn't really find anything bad.
Yeah.
We not really sure of some of the property lines, so we're going to have to really get some way to look at a GIS map and see where the property lines are and where you are. So, but it's quite a bit of topography out there. So it's a very interesting, physically a very interesting, sections of land that we're on. We're interesting. We're great. So we had a nice time and it was a little tiring now.
Yeah.
Up and down.
I was tired.
Yeah, there's a lot. I sent you a copy of the track, and
I saw something in my.
I know.
Okay, yeah.
I did it just today, so it's not a big deal. The Cal Topo application. When you look at the track, you can go and you can select the altitudes.
Yeah.
And it'll give you a track of the altitude. So it's a free online tool. It's kind of cool. So, but if anyone's got some good GPS type of software, that we maybe need to kind of standardize on something.
We made notes of the things we found too.
Yeah,
right?
that's on the map. That's on that too.
Okay. Jody?
Thank you. I would just encourage anyone, because I know everybody wants to go to more meetings, but the meeting on Thursday when the town council takes up the land acquisition, I would just, if you're able, no pressure, because I know you guys all do a lot of other stuff and you're really busy, but it would be great for more than just Tim, if possible, to attend the meeting. I, of course, as town council representation on the board, will speak in support of the acquisition, but I don't have the in-depth knowledge that some of you do, the history that you guys have regarding the plans for purchase. So if you're able to come and speak to it in support of it or answer any questions and show support, so Tim's got somebody watching his back, that I think that would be great. And you've all worked really, really hard toward this, so you should come enjoy the benefits of having it, which I'm hoping it will be formally approved. So,
What
Thank
time roughly?
You know, at the beginning of the agenda.
Beginning of the meeting. We're like 2/3 in the agenda.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, sorry.
Yeah.
I have to sit through the whole thing, so it doesn't really matter to me.
But what? Any idea?
I can take a look at the agenda and tell you how long I think some things might take and give you a rough estimate.
That would be
My
great.
best guess. It would
Yep,
be a
that's
guess.
Because to show up at 7 and have it not go till 9.
I mean, the agenda went out, and I honestly haven't had a chance to look at the whole thing yet either, so.
No chance of moving it forward.
There is.
Not my call.
I could ask, but. we
Well,
could see.
and if they say yes, then let everybody know.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks again for that, I appreciate it.
Mike?
I have no further comment.
Okay. Just a quick update, the driveway and the parking lot for Wildcat Falls was graded about a week or so ago to smooth it out. It had a lot of potholes in it, so that it's better down there now, which is good. I thank the town. They got a little behind because they were doing some other items that needed to be done higher priority, which I completely understand, but I was glad to see that was done before winter. And that's all that I have. So,
Motion adjourned?
Second.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moved by Matt, seconded by Cindy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That passes 6-0-0 at 8:58 p.m. And we are adjourned.
the entire project much simpler. It's less need for oversight, engineering, et cetera. And it's at this point that's sort of an interim proposed grade, and the ultimate future use of the site is undetermined. But the intent was to get started within a portion and keep the project simple, and start with a basic map and project approach outlined in that February 5th letter. Obviously the feedback thus far is you guys are looking for a little more detail, provide some additional